is the sky officially falling for the Cleveland Cavaliers? A three-game losing streak for the first time all season. Spence and I are going to talk about it coming up next on the Locked On. On Courtside with the Cavs on that side. Oh, what a beautiful start. Yeah, for those that don't know, I wear many hats. So I host another show, host another podcast, and I tried to give you that title instead of the title of our podcast, which is, of course, Courtside with the Cavs on SI. Looking forward to another conversation with you guys and Spin. I think this is actually a good time for this, Spence, because people are sitting at work now, anxious as hell about like the start of March Madness, or they're getting out of work. They're like, oh, I'm heading home for the day, gonna go watch some college hoops. And so this is an opportunity to like get ready for basketball by talking about basketball. And so I think we're giving people a nice thing to kill some time here until the tournament starts.
Yeah, I think so too, man. And I know you wear a lot of hats. I wear a lot of hats. I'm wearing one right now. It's a little bit of a metaphor for what our business is. So shake the rust off on that one. All good. It is the morning too. We don't usually record these in the morning. So it's all good, dude. Yes, we've got March Madness coming up. Men's and women's starting up the next couple of days. Can't wait. Favorite time of year, man. I will say St. Patrick's Day took a lot out of me. So now I'm ready for the next phase of March. And then after we get through the first couple weeks and the first weekend of March Madness, then we're going to get to my birthday. So that's why March is the best month of the year. You get the tease, you get the fake spring, you get the fake weather. We're probably going to get some snow here in the next week or so. But we did see some 60 and above temperatures, and some places 70 and above. So, we've got a lot of fun things happening right now. And it's not so fun for the team that we cover at the moment because they're just really aching to get to the playoffs right now.
Yeah, and by the way, we will talk a little bit about the tournament here towards the end of the pod. I want to get a sense of how far Spence has his Akron Zips going, so we'll talk about all those things. But yes, Spence, you're right. The Cavs obviously struggling right now. First 3-game losing streak of the season. It's weird to say that because most teams at this point in the year, like they've had losing streaks, they've had lulls, they've had bad moments. This team has just won so much that it's so abnormal to see them struggle the way they have in recent games. And listen, like I think the overarching theme here, which we in our post game shows this week, has been this idea of like, okay, yes, they're struggling and they've hit a little bit of a rut and they have to snap out of it. And there's kind of a collection of things going wrong. But what I think is interesting to sort of analyze on a deeper level here, Spence, is what is the thing that you are most concerned about with this Cavaliers team during this rut that they're in? Because, yeah, you can point to a number of things. Donovan Mitchell's playing poorly. You can point to the defense. You can point to the third quarter was something that you brought up last night, how that's been sort of a constant concern this season. And there's an assortment of other things that have gone wrong. The shot making isn't there from the role players, whatever. And as we talk about like not wanting to see these problems become bad habits right before the playoffs start, like maybe that's a good sort of way to qualify where we're at with what we think is the most concerning, because like, what's the thing that you're most worried about becoming a larger problem for this team potentially down the stretch of the season, postseason, I guess?
It's the third quarter defense. You brought it up, and we talked about it pretty much at length last night after that game. I just don't think that they're as focused as they need to be coming out of the locker room after building a lead or sustaining a lead, or, usually when they're down, they come out with a really solid energy. I think it's more or less when they're up. And just listening to Evan Mobley's comments yesterday on the Cavs YouTube channel, I think that he put it very well. He said that he's sensing a little bit of complacency and thinking that they can just win with their offense. And so they're not as, quote unquote, locked in on the defensive end. And it's not that they are not capable of it. It's more of a mentality thing. And I think Kenny puts it really well. This is a slog of the season. You're just like 12, 13 games away from the playoffs. What else do we really need to prove? I know all that. And we see all that. But you still have to execute. You still have to play the games that are in front of you before you get to that point. And so I don't see them developing a habit out of this. I think that in this particular moment of the season, this is what's happening and they need to correct it. And we're going to get into some stuff that was said from the locker room last night, I'm sure. But it's interesting to me just hearing how the players are talking about it, how the different perspectives are, and also, you know, the fans who are rational, legitimately, you know, and concerned, obviously, is the right way to react.
Yeah.
And then there's the others that are taking this and running with it very, very heavily.
The third quarter thing is interesting. It's notable. It's a good answer, I think, to the question. I'm going to expound this out a little further, though, and just say I think like the defense in general hasn't been up to par for this team. And I think it starts in that third quarter, Spence, but even in the fourth quarter. I mean, the last two games in particular was a lot of just like allowing guards to penetrate and cut to the basket and get the shots that they want. And that's just, we just haven't seen that a lot from this Cavs team this year. Like, they don't give that stuff up easily. And so it's been kind of bizarre to see. There's been a couple times where, like, you know, guys have just gotten absolutely smoked defensively. We brought the Evan Mobley play from a couple nights ago against James Harden, where he just like sort of, you know, worked him into a little bit of a tizzy and then got around him with just like his footwork. And James Harden will do that from time to time. He still is a good offensive player in that way. But like, that's the type of stuff that like you haven't seen from this Cavs team. Like, you haven't seen them give up those buckets. And I'm using the Evan Mobley one and I'm singling him out, but it's not just him. Like, it's been struggles across the board for guys that have been able to stay in front of people, not being able to stay in front of people as effectively. And like, the defense is not converging on the cutting players to the basket at times the way that they have in previous months. So they have to get that sorted out. Like, that's the one thing that I worry about becoming like a problem, is that they do, to your point, have like a lethargic attitude coming out of the locker room in the third quarter, and then that sort of perpetuates in the second half. And like you mentioned, the comments made by Evan Mobley, like, if they become too reliant on, we can just outshoot everybody, we can just outscore everybody, that is probably the one thing I would worry about becoming a bad habit. I'm not saying it's going to become a bad habit. I'm just saying, like, that's the thing I would worry the most about, is that complacency sort of becoming something that just kind of carries over into April, and you don't want to see that happen. I don't think it will, because this team is they're on high alert. Like, Donovan Mitchell knows that time of year matters so much to his legacy. He's talked about how much it matters to this team and that they still have so much to prove, and they continue to send that message. So I don't think it will become a problem. But if I'm pinpointing like one thing in this 3-game stretch that I'm the most worried about, I think it is that.
Yeah, no, I think that is something that you can be concerned with at the moment. I don't think that this is a team that would carry that into the postseason. And I think it's a completely different level of locking in when you have that week off. You're able to kind of lick your wounds a little bit, get healthier, and then prepare for whoever you're facing and you see out of the play-in tournament. I just think these are things that they're in this moment, they're happening. You're on the West Coast, you're on a 5-game road trip, in the midst of one, I should say. You've had 2 in the last couple of nights that have come down to the wire. You did not execute when you needed to execute in the final moments. Your defense was not good enough in those final moments. It was really, really good in the first half against the Kings. It was pretty decent against the Clippers. The Clippers were just making an insane amount of shots. I think that they were fine defensively against the Clippers. Against the Kings, they obviously don't have the same weapons, but they gave up way too many points in the third quarter, and then that just kind of gave them confidence. And then DeMar DeRozan was able to put you away the way he has 4 years now in that mid-range. And then obviously Malik Monk was able to drive by, and you just didn't have the right kind of awareness or correct read on that situation if you're Evan Mobley jumping and trying to block a shot rather than staying in position and putting your arms up against a guy who's 6'3" or 6'4". Those are the things that just you have to have better decision-making on defensively. I think the communication could be better defensively. I don't think it's a Maybe there's a little bit of physical fatigue there. Like if you're not fighting over a screen per se, like if you get screened and you stop moving and expect someone to switch for you, or if you're leaving Jared Allen out on an island, are you switching too much? Like I don't think that we have to get in a tizzy about that because they've been really solid all year long collectively on the defensive end. I just think these are the problems that are happening right now. It's the communication. It's the reliance on that a big man will be behind you to protect. I think that is the sort of thing. Like even we were talking about it last night. Like DeAndre Hunter was getting beat. Ty Jerome was getting beat. Donovan Mitchell was getting beat. Max Strus was getting beat. It's everyone. It's everyone. So if you get beat, that means that someone else is going to have to come over and help, which is then going to create a domino effect. It's the game of basketball.
Well, and that's why I think we've brought up fatigue before. That's why I think we've brought up, like, you know, some of the challenges we just navigated in an 82-game season, which is why something like the week off during the play-in tournament, you know, and it might end up being massively helpful for this Cavs team to sort of just get off their feet for a little bit, get themselves rested, and get ready for the playoff run they're about to try to embark on. I was going to throw this one up here real quick. TJ, this is either a Celtics fan trolling or this is a Cavs fan who, in the spirit of the headline of this show where we had, is it time to, or is it panic time, is panicking and just accepting that the Cavs are going to lose the Celtics in 5. So that's where we're at, though. I think this is where I think fans are at, Spence. Like, they're trying to split the difference between, like, okay, we've been so good this year that I think fans feel like they've been a little bit spoiled, right? Like, they've seen so much winning that, like, now all of a sudden a 3-game losing streak feels like the end of the world. But I think at the same time, there are some fans who are, like, legitimately concerned about this. I think, Spence, you and I are trying to sort of find that middle ground of, like, yes, you have a right to be concerned, but this shouldn't be a period of time for the Cavs where, you know, you throw in the towel and just assume their fate is a loss to the Celtics and they're not going to have a shot at the NBA Finals.
It's insane to me to think that way. But that's also because I'm a glass half full guy. At the same time, even if you're a glass half empty guy, are you really taking more stock in a 3-game sample size and a post All-Star break sample size than what you saw before the break? Are you really doing that when they improved and they got out and acquired DeAndre Hunter and they looked like an unstoppable machine after that? And then they went on another huge winning streak, 16 games in a row, even when they were playing their worst basketball, and they were still able to come out on top. And in that stretch, they beat the Grizzlies, they beat the Celtics, they beat some really solid teams among that schedule. It depends on what your viewpoint is. I don't live in that world. That's not my world. My world, obviously, I'm a little bit of an optimist. I'm not gonna say I'm not someone who's like I'm not a homer by any means, but like I've always been kind of that, all right, what are they good at, not what are they not good at.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a middle ground there that you can find, but in today's world there is no middle ground. It's either you're trash or you're really good. So it's really hard to live in that world for me because I'm very old school.
It's either the Cavs season is over and they have no shot, or this doesn't matter at all. And I think there is a middle ground where it's like it can matter, but it doesn't have to be the end all be all either. There are some comments I want to get to a little bit later in the show. We tend to utilize those the best we can. But Spence, what I also think is interesting about as we talk about finding that middle ground on like what this all means, Donovan Mitchell had some very interesting comments after last night's game that I know we wanted to talk about. Where he's almost embracing this. And I think that's an important thing for fans to keep in mind too, when you talk about like the attitude of a team and how they're treating and treating this situation, the slump that they're in, like the attitude that the players are taking towards it tells you a lot about how much they'll be able to snap out of it or, brush it off or keep going or move forward, rather, once we get to the postseason.
Yeah, and this is a good article by Chris Fedor, Cleveland.com. He's obviously out there covering the team. He wrote down Donovan's comments, and I'll go and just take the best snippets, okay? The first thing he said was, I'm trying to refrain from using the word happy. I'm kind of a sicko, so I enjoy this. This is what makes the season fun, going through adversity. The sky is not falling. But we have some expletive, you can figure that one out, to figure out. This is part of it. We have to be better. That's no lie. I feel like this is something really that's going to help us going forward. You don't grow without going through things. And paraphrasing, he was talking about this is something we can lean back on when we're playing a Boston, when we're playing someone like a Milwaukee or whoever in the playoffs that you're going to meet up with. That's something you can lean on. This one caught my eye. The outside world, I don't know what's being said. It may look crazy, but this is what you want. You want to bring this on now, so when it becomes playoff time, we're not running into this for the first time. So those are just a few quotes from that article. Again,
you
really
could have
well
said
written.
the expletive, by the way. We're a podcast. It's okay.
I mean, I'm guessing he said shit, but it's not that. I don't want to like.
You didn't want to put words in his mouth. I got you.
Yeah, I didn't want to put words in his mouth if I wasn't there. So, but I think that him reacting this way, and I don't know, maybe someone's gonna turn their back on Donovan and say, no, you have to win every game, blah blah blah, like because Donovan's not been playing up to par since his groin injury has taken him out, and also really post All-Star break he hasn't looked like himself. Same, with DG, but he's right. This is part of it. This is what you have to go through. And if you're doing it now rather than in a month, I think that people would have a lot better feeling than it happened in the playoffs. I don't see if you really want to be happy and see the best team playing in March and that they're peaking at this time, then you're completely out of your element. This is not what it's about. We're in March right now. This is the hardest part of the schedule other than that middle January and getting to the All-Star break. That is really tough to get through, especially when you're on the West Coast. You're on a back-to-back from LA going to Sacramento, and now you're headed over to Phoenix, and the travel days are getting shorter and less time in between, and you're still being asked to give your best.
Yeah.
That is a human nature thing. I don't give a crap about what people say at home and then they're watching and that they get paid millions of dollars and stuff like that. Human nature seeps in. We've talked about it on this podcast. You and I sometimes have a tough time getting up for some of our podcasts or staying up until 1 a.m. And maybe we don't have the same energy that we have right now.
Those last 2 nights are rough.
I'm saying, like, you can tell that we don't have this current energy that we have right now in this podcast. And that's why I'm laughing at people who are hypocritical, probably watching from work or watching the games, and saying, oh, why aren't they like doing this, and that? Like, I understand they're a professional basketball team. They're a sports team that gets paid a lot of money, but money doesn't make you not be human. It is a part of life. It is a part of work. So yeah, criticize it for sure, but also understand the context, contextualize it too. That's where I'm at with that. Like,
we need to give Spence a round of applause for his TED Talk. That was
because
great.
It's just
fantastic.
So crazy to me. Okay, can I go on a really, really quick rant? Can I go on a really quick rant?
Yes, no, you're good. You're good. This is our platform. We can do what we want.
Why is it that sports fans are so inclined to feel like they have to play GM and why they feel like they're evaluating players and not just watching? Like, you obviously give your opinions. I love reading opinions and stuff like that, especially ones that make you think. But I'm just like sitting here, and when I was the biggest Cavs fan when I was in college, I was very even-keeled. But that's also my personality, so I don't want to like make it seem like this is the end-all be-all. But like, what bothers me the most about fans is that the second one thing goes wrong, they're trying to hop ship. And it's like any dose of negative energy or negative results or negative play makes them just go away, and it makes them
you got to throw everything
so scared.
You got to throw everything in the trash. Yeah,
right. Why is it like that? I don't get why.
Well,
that's
something. I don't have an issue with fan, like you bring up like fans playing GM and stuff. Like I like the idea of like fans. Sometimes it's a little ludicrous, right? We get to the trade deadline, everyone does like the trade machine, and they try to like orchestrate these wild trades. Some of it's fun, some of it's like whatever. But like I don't mind fans being like, I think we should have made this move, or I think we should have made that move, or like if
I'm not.
I don't mind if they like think about those things in terms of like what it would have meant for the history of the Cavs, or like if they have ideas of like how the team can improve. Like, yeah, you're more than welcome to share those things. I think though what like you're sort of alluding to and what I agree with is like the quick the second something goes wrong, like the very quick reaction to just be like, let's just change everything. Like it's pointing at all the different things that need to change.
Yeah.
Like it would be extreme if anybody said this. I don't think anybody actually said this during this. This is like maybe the one thing people haven't said yet is like fire Kenny Atkinson. You know what I mean? Like, but that sometimes is what happens is like that's an example of these extreme, platitudes that we go to where it's like, this is the thing that has to change, or this guy's not good enough. Like there was somebody in the comments the other night who said the Cavs need to trade Donovan Mitchell because he's playing too much hero ball and he's like gotten the Cavs out of whack and he's not playing very well in crunch time. And it's like it's a small sample size, guys. So yeah, I'm with you. Like I think that tends to be like the overreaction part of this, and there can be like that, like we said, that middle ground where you operate in a world where this is reality. The Cavs are struggling, but it's also not the sky is falling and it's all over. So I think there is kind of like that middle ground you can stand on. But
I kind of agree with that latest comment too. And just to add a little bit more to this, I think it's funny to me that a lot of these social media fans who do their parodies and whatnot and have their faceless, nameless accounts and all that stuff, I think that it's funny because there are people that'll go out and criticize an athlete's kind of mental temperament and that they have no, mental fortitude or something like that. But you got some of the fans who at the very first sight of adversity would fold like a pancake. Like I just think it's very hypocritical. I'll leave it at that, and I don't want to get myself in trouble. But
no.
I also think it's
you're not gonna get in trouble.
Yeah,
and
it also kind of goes with the coaches jumping from team to team and athletes in the portal going from team to team. I'm going through it right now, like seeing it up close and personal in my brother's conference because he plays down at Capitol, and like it's crazy to me how much of these kids just jump and like. Maybe that's part of fandom. Maybe that is something that it has trickled down and it's more societal and sports societal. But what do I know? I think it's an interesting conversation.
Not to get like too big picture here, but I do think some of that is just the nature of the NBA. It's easier in the NBA to root for players. I think there is a younger generation. I think we're sort of in that generation, Spence, where we grew up on, I really like this player. I'm going to watch them when your team's not in it. And so I think that has kind of paved the way for sometimes fans just to like not even have a set team they cheer for, but like just different teams, or like, I just want good basketball. So I do think the loyalty to a team has kind of fallen to the wayside there a little bit. I also just think in general, maybe it is a societal thing, but I have a hard time with this because I do enjoy. Here's the other thing, like the way sports are talked about today. Like we see the Stephen A. Smiths out there who have to go every day and have like a grand reaction to everything. And so I think sometimes that's the place that people go. But I on some level, I enjoy that. I enjoy fans getting emotional because that's what makes sports fun is you don't want to tell somebody not to get emotional and be attached to these teams and like feel excited or disappointed or whatever. Like that's what makes sports talk. That's what makes this business. That's what, why we do this stuff. But at the same time, I agree with you that sometimes it can go to the extremes. And I don't think this has to be a situation where we go to the extremes. And part of the reason I feel that way too is as you read off those Donovan Mitchell comments, I talked about the attitude and the approach that the players are taking towards the slump. That is exactly what you want to hear. Now, I don't want to go as far as saying it's the perfect time for this, because I wouldn't say March is the perfect time to experience this. You wanted to experience this in February. March is, you're getting a little close to the playoffs for my liking to feel like, okay, this is when you wanted this to happen. But I can buy into the idea that they are embracing it as, okay, maybe we've gotten a little complacent. Things aren't going right. How do we come out on the other side of this? And that is adversity that you do want your team to go through at some point before April, May, and potentially June. So the fact that that's the approach Donovan is taking, and we know, Spence, Donovan sets the tone for that locker room, for that roster, for those guys. That seems to be, it's going to have a ripple effect throughout the team. And I think others will sort of follow suit in believing that as well. And that makes me feel comfortable and confident that they will find a way out of this and through this to get back to playing the brand of basketball that they know how to play.
It's a delicate balance between being critical, but also being like, sky ain't falling. Just like when they were winning, how many times have we heard Donovan and Darius say, we haven't done anything yet? And that's, I think, a really good approach to have, because either way, this is a time where you're experimenting and you're building your habits, as you said, to help you when it comes to the time when the game means the most. The games matter now. The regular season matters. That's another topic that I really hate to talk about. But the regular season does matter, because it's when you find your rotations. It's when you find the combinations that work the best in the 2-man and 3-man lineups. It's when you find the proper allocation of minutes. It's also when you're able to experiment and try different things, which Kenny's done a great job of all season long. The last, couple of games has been a little different because other guys are starting to get a little bit more minutes. Less guys are starting to play. Kenny's trying to up their endurance and all that stuff. And whether you agree or disagree with that, he wants them ready in case they need to lean on them in the postseason. I think that them reacting this way is interesting to me because hearing Evan react the way that he's reacting, talking about complacency and talking about got to guard better, got to be better, got to be more locked in. You're hearing that from the young guy. Donovan Mitchell is the veteran who's talking about, no, we're fine. This is good. We got to have some adversity. We got to have some losses in order to gain some wins. Though that kind of, I guess, dynamic is good to me, because that means that the young guys are going to understand the importance of it, and that Donovan already knows the importance of it. What he says publicly shouldn't really matter too much. It's what's being said inside those walls.
Yeah.
And I think that it could be a way to say, all right, someone else come and step up as the locker room leader and you lead the way. And I'm not going to be the one to try and light a fire under your ass. You got to light it yourself. And I think that is really good too, because if the young guys take that mantle, then they're going to go to another level in that. And that's really reflective, again, of what's been happening this season, is Donovan stepping to the side. He's not stepping back. He's stepping to the side and letting these guys kind of figure it out and develop while he's on the floor. Even though his production has not been the greatest this year, it's still been very important. And I think that Donovan, he can find it at whatever time. I don't know when it's coming. Maybe it doesn't even come on this West Coast road trip. But when Donovan locks in, then you're going to know.
I want to throw this comment up. Kevin Goatsgate. I don't even know what it is. Whatever. Sorry, Kevin, if I said your name wrong. The Cavs have already secured a playoff spot. Why does it matter what seed they are? Wouldn't it be better to play better teams earlier in the playoff? I think this, kind of leans into the conversation we're having in regards to the 3-game losing streak. They've lost some ground as the number 1 seed in the East. They were up as many as 8 games. Now it's down to 6. And so, yeah, there's still a window here where the Celtics could make a run. The Cavs could keep losing, and maybe they lose that top spot. I push back on Kevin's comment somewhat, Spence, because, again, obviously the main goal is to get in. We know that in all those things. But if you're the Cavs, you've been so solidified at the top of the East, and frankly, how do I put this? Because the Western Conference, I think, is going to be hard. It's going to be a hard road for those teams in the West because there's a number of good teams in the West. But I do think the three best teams in the NBA, 2 of them are in the Eastern Conference, if that makes sense. So as hard as I think the West path is going to be for any of those teams to kind of navigate, because there's a lot, but I think there's the Western Conference, I think, has more good teams. I think the Eastern Conference has 2 of the 3 juggernauts in it. And so my point here is, if you're the Cavs, having home court in a 7-game series against the Celtics, I think is going to be massively important if you're going to get there. So I understand what you're saying, Kevin. The main goal is get in, of course. But if you can get that 1 seed and know, hey, when push comes to shove, the Celtics have to come to our home floor for a potential Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals, that's, I think, what you want. That's why I think the 1 seed is immensely important. If there's anybody who still has any demons about the Knicks series from a couple years ago, you'll also likely avoid the Knicks by having the 1 seed. So that's, I guess, an extra bonus for you. Your path is made a little bit easier, and you earn that by doing so. And I get what Kevin's saying. It's the old, to be the best, you got to beat the best. To be the man, you got to beat the man, whatever. And I understand, player comments, but I understand where people are coming from with that. But no, like if you're the Cavs, you have earned this spot in the standings, and you don't want to see it sort of dissipate here or dissolve here. You want to be able to hold that spot and know you have like the ultimate path to a deeper playoff run or the finals if you get there. Now I think because of these losses, they have conceded the best record in the NBA at this point. So the Thunder would probably have home court if they were to meet in the finals. But yeah, like I think that's still massively important for this Cavs team. And if you're talking about things they need to accomplish still, suddenly like it felt like they were going to kind of coast their way to that spot. Now there's a little bit of a window to maybe, okay, could they lose some ground here? Like that is still something they have to accomplish in my eyes, is clinching that number 1 seed in the East.
I agree. And you don't want to lose ground like that. If you do, then the panic will be warranted, right? And I do see another comment in here that I completely disagree with. I don't know if it's a troll, but saying that 2-3 game losing streaks in the same season, that doesn't happen to contenders, is complete bullshit. So I'll just call that one out right now. That has definitely
happened.
Have
it had 2-3 game losing streaks?
Yes. We completely botched yesterday. That was on me. Forgot about the Philly 3 game skid.
You're right.
Yeah, that was on me yesterday. That was on me. But like, that's complete bullshit. Throughout an 82 game season, I'm gonna laugh at that comment. But it's not good to lose. Like, I'm not saying it's good to lose. Just like Donovan in his comments isn't saying he's happy they're losing. But if you believe in this life, in this NBA circle, that going through adversity is a negative thing, then you are raised completely different than a lot of people. Like, I just, that's the overarching thing for me here. Like, you have all this success up until this point, and you want to throw it away because you lost 3 games. Like, could you imagine if athletes had that attitude? Could you imagine how bad and how ungratefully, like how if they reacted that way, how they would handle that? Like, I can't ever see that happening to an athlete. Like I mean, maybe it has happened to some athletes. Maybe the outside noise does get to them, but I feel like they're pretty well insulated and obviously know what they've been through over the last few years. It's not like we're handling them with kid gloves here. I've been as critical as I've been all season long on them here, but I can also kind of keep it a buck. Like, you know, I don't know. I just think there's a lot of things that get to me. I don't know. That's one of them.
I'm going back to Kevin. He said it was cool that I botched his name. I don't know if it's Kevin Gates.
Kevin Gates. We listen to rap now. You got 2 phones, one
Kevin
for the club,
Goats,
one
Kevin
for the
Gates, whatever. We'll just say he's the GOAT, Kevin Goat. He jumped back in to comment on this. Like, if they're going to play the Celtics, wouldn't it be better to play them when they're fresh? Is home court advantage so much more important than being healthy? Here's the thing, though. Like, they played the Celtics earlier on last year when they theoretically were healthy. I think the main goal here, Kevin, like it's Gets. That actually makes some sense. I was leaning too much onto the O. Sorry, Kevin. Thank you for the clarification. Kevin Gets. Like, my thing is, if you're the 1 seed, your path should theoretically be easier, and so therefore, like, hopefully those first couple series you get through faster, right? Like, the goal is like, okay, maybe we get the first series in 5 games, then you get through the second series in like 5 or 6 games. And then that would hopefully mean that you're healthier because you're playing less games to get to a point where you're playing the Celtics. But yes, I guess on some capacity, like, I see what you're saying. Like, you're going to have to play the Celtics at some point probably anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But I still think, like, you want to start the series at home against the Celtics. You want to end it on your home floor in a Game 7. I think those things matter. And I think that is still something that the Cavaliers need to like be prioritizing playing for. So
Definitely.
to me, that's a big deal.
And also with the path too, like they're obviously not set with the standings here, but you would likely have to play one of New York or Detroit, right? Like instead of an Indiana or Milwaukee in the second round. So like you look at even that kind of perspective as far as like how the bracket
we have
shapes
precedent that this stuff matters to them too, because just last year they lost a game on purpose at the end of the season to try to draw Orlando over any other team. So we know this stuff matters to them. We know the matchups matter. There's certain teams that they maybe don't match up as well against. They've pretty much been a really good matchup for most teams in the Eastern Conference. So I don't know that it's like a majorly concerning thing. Like the Celtics are the team, you know that. Like they're going to have to go through them at some point, but you'd rather go through them on your home floor more games than not, than have to go on the road to their place. So I still think the 1 seed matters, and I guarantee if you asked the Cavs players, they would say the exact same thing. I still can't get over, Spence, that I messed up the 3-game losing streak thing. That's on me. I tweeted that last night too, and nobody corrected me. I'm so stupid.
You know what? West Coast game. It's like Oren saying, one of our best commenters. Appreciate you always stopping by, Oren. West Coast games, they're taking a lot out of us right now. You know, like I slept in till like 10 today. I think I was up till like 3:30 yesterday. So like it's definitely taking a toll. So see, again, if it's taking a toll on us, how do you think it's taking a toll on the athletes? How do you think it's taking a toll on the team?
Bad error on my part, but hopefully I didn't make any bad errors on my bracket, Spence. I think this is a good place to sort of close out the show with just a couple minutes to spare here until the tournament actually tips off. First of all, I want to know what your Final Four looks like.
Okay. I don't even remember because I did it last night at 3 a.m. So we're going to pull it up. We're going to pull it up on the phone. Okay. For the men's, my Final Four is the Michigan State Spartans. It is the Ids of March versus St. John's, and then Alabama versus Houston. And I've got St. John's, Rick Pitino, taking it home against Alabama.
You're definitely outside the box with that one. I don't think there's a lot of people picking. I don't think there's a lot of people picking St. John's to win.
No. Well, that's.
I like it though.
Hey, listen. This is why I love March Madness. It is you never know what can happen, and I'm looking forward to that. And then for the women's, my Final Four: UCLA, UConn, South Carolina, Notre Dame. Notre Dame beats UConn. Hannah Hidalgo, what up? Irish, take it home.
The Irish are really good this year. I really like USC, obviously.
Lindsay Gottlieb, good friend of ours.
And I was going to say, I saw she was pretty mad. She was mad that she was the lowest ranked 1 seed of the group. Like that kind of pissed her off. Mm-hmm. So they're going to be coming in fiery. Obviously, they got Juju Watson. Like she's fantastic. Yeah.
No. What did you have yours?
I do have.
I never set you up for that by fault.
No, I meant Juju Watkins. I don't know why I said Watson, by the way.
Another little error that had to do with what the other hats you wear.
The other podcast I do, yeah. I see WA and I just, I just go to that guy, the controversial one. But yeah, Juju Watkins is obviously great. My Final Four is Michigan State, Florida, Duke, and Houston. One with a lot of 1 seeds. To be totally honest, I got Michigan State though in there as the 2 seed. I have Florida winning it all over Houston, so I kept it somewhat chalky. But I don't know, man. I try to like pick these upsets and like pick teams that are going to go to the Final Four that are like obscure, and it never works out for me. So I went with a different strategy this year, and that was my sort of process there. Although I don't know, I think in one of my brackets I picked. I did a second one, and I think I picked Wisconsin to beat Duke. So there was that, at least. But
okay.
So I switched it up a little bit on the one.
My highest remaining in the men's Elite 8, I have Maryland. I had Maryland upset Florida. And I know Florida is a very trendy pick to win it all this year. But I went against the grain on that one. But yeah, my Elite 8 is pretty high seeded itself. I just kind of pick away, but my Sweet 16 definitely has my East bracket's all sorts of messed up.
How far do you have Akron going? That's the $1 million question everybody wants.
I got Akron going to the Sweet 16. I got them beating Arizona and Tommy Lloyd. I know there hasn't been the best reception for that relationship between him and the fans this year, so I feel like maybe that's something that could happen. And then I have them beating Oregon, which is a very tough task, obviously, always. So then they face Duke, and I just don't think that our Zips have what it takes to take down Duke, unless obviously something happened to the Blue Devils.
To Cooper Flagg. Are you trying to insinuate that you're gonna try to take him out again, like he got hurt in the conference tournament?
He got hurt. He got hurt in the conference tourney, man. That's all I'm saying.
It sounds like Spence is plotting like a Tanya Harding situation here. He's like sending somebody out to Seattle to help the Zips out if they get there. So we'll see. I do think going to the West Coast is a tough one. Like that's a tough draw for Akron. I mean, you're never going to get a lot
on the West Coast.
Yeah,
dude,
I mean, you're never.
They should have beaten UCLA a couple years ago.
They should have. They really should have. You're never going to get a lot of love when you're like a lower ranked seed that way. Like they're not going to like do you any favors, obviously. But yeah, that kind of stinks. But I'm hopeful that this is the year they get out of the first round at least. I think in one of my brackets I had them winning 2 games, also upsetting Oregon. I think in one of them I have them just winning the 1 game. So I'm showing some love for the Zips as well, place I used to work. But we appreciate you guys stopping by before the tournament gets rolling here. Spence and I are certainly going to be watching a lot of basketball the next couple of days. And we hope that you will like, follow, subscribe, and review the Courtside with the Cavs and SI podcast, wherever it's your podcast, Apple, Spotify, the YouTube channel where many of you might be watching this right now, which is part of course, the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI YouTube channel, where we also encourage you to subscribe because there'll be all sorts of post-game content throughout the rest of this road trip. When we get back, we'll have all sorts of press conferences and stuff for you. Spence always does a tremendous job getting those up there for you after the games and making sure that we got you covered on all from all angles. This wine and gold team. You can also read any of our written content over at the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI or si.com/NBA/Cavaliers, where we also make sure to keep you in the loop on all things Cleveland Cavaliers as well. Spence, I thought it was a fun show today, and I hope that we can enjoy some college hoops here for the next couple of days before we get another late night with the Cavaliers on Friday.
Good discussions. Appreciate everybody in the comments, whether they're negative or positive, in a respectful manner. Truly appreciate that. And yeah, good vent sesh. I think that was solid.
You're gonna have 2 TVs going on Friday, by the way. One for the Cavs, one for Akron. You have to, right?
Am I gonna have 2 TVs going? Come on.
He's like, I'm gonna have 4 TVs.
I'm gonna have everything up. We're gonna have the old monitor hooked up to the laptop. You'll have the TV going, maybe one on the phone. Not gonna be good for the Wi-Fi bill.
One of my favorite college memories was my junior and senior year. I skipped class. The best stories from college always involve skipping class. And my one buddy, who I still do a bracket challenge, he does like a bracket challenge every year that I do. He would set up 4 TVs in their room, and we'd all just hang out and sit and watch games all day, Thursday and Friday. That was honestly one of my favorite things that I remember about college, my college experience. So I don't quite have the setup that he had in college in my house, but we're getting there slowly but surely. But yes, slowly but surely. Should be a fun couple of days of basketball, and we'll have some more Cavs to talk about, as well as the NCAA tournament on Friday. So that should be fun for sure. All right, guys. Appreciate you stopping on by. As always, again, follow the podcast, like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, wherever it is that you get your podcast. And of course, right here, the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI YouTube channel. We'll be back with more coverage of your Cleveland Cavaliers coming up tomorrow and beyond. So be sure to stay tuned. In the meantime, though, enjoy the NCAA tournament. For Spencer Davies, I'm Spencer German. We'll talk to you again here real soon as we keep on following all things Cleveland Cavaliers with the Cleveland Cavaliers on SI.